Welcome back to First Trades on ET Now. You are catching us live right here from the Motilal Oswal studios, and let's take the discussion forward with Mr. D.K. Joshi, Chief Economist at Crisil, and let's find out that what is his reading been into the Q3 GDP data. Hi, good morning, Mr. Joshi, and good to be speaking with you. First up, on the GDP numbers, yes, of course, sequentially there has been a rebound, but give us a sense that how are you looking at the outlook going ahead? Because almost that blip we have seen in this Q2, do you believe that we have already bottomed out and the picture looks quite decent from here on?
Well, I think there are two things to note in this GDP data release. One is that the numbers for the last 2-3 years have been bumped up. So the upward revisions in data continue. I think that has been the trend post-pandemic. Now, coming to this particular fiscal year, 24-25, GDP growth turned out to be a little lower than what was expected earlier, but still this has been revised up by 10 basis points. We do believe that the GDP growth has bottomed out in the sense that it's going to move up from these levels, and what is baked into the GDP estimate is about 7.6% GDP growth in the last quarter. So that's clearly a bump up. And within that, I think the services are doing better than the manufacturing. I think that's what is today's PMI data also showed. I think for February, the services are much better than manufacturing, although both are in the expansion zone. So going ahead, I think the growth will be similar to what we experienced in 24-25. Our forecast is 6.5% for 25-26, and the triggers are one, the monetary policy turning supportive, and also I think there is some fiscal impulse for the consumption side. Agriculture is expected to do well. I think we have an assumption of normal monsoons. And then finally, I think the food inflation is coming down, and that improves the discretionary spending power of the households. So I think all these things coming together will help us maintain GDP growth at around 6.5% in the coming fiscal year.
Thanks for that view, Mr. Joshi. This is Snehi also joining in. Just want to understand a little bit more in detail about the sectoral numbers that we have seen sector-wise. Agricultural growth has been very good. It's beat estimates also by quite a lot. Services growth has too been decent on a year-on-year basis also, as well as compared to estimates. What's missed estimates slightly this time is the industry growth that's come in at 4.5%. The estimate was 5.7%. Now, while on a year-on-year basis, this is an uptick, it's missed the estimate. Could you tell us why this has happened and what's the outlook on the industry front going ahead?
Well, I think the overall manufacturing should do well in the coming fiscal year. I think, but it has been very, it's kind of underperformed. I mean, in the post-pandemic recovery, I think particularly in the last 1 or 2 years, manufacturing hasn't done that well, I think, as the other segments have done. And I think this will start balancing out because the focus is shifting towards manufacturing now from the policy side. But I think there are many ifs and buts because the global environment is turning more restrictive. There are insular policies. Every country, or particularly the large countries, are looking at propping up their domestic production. So I think in that scenario, the external stimuli to the manufacturing sector doesn't do well. And I think that's reflected in the export performance as well. The exports have not done that well for the goods sector. They've done extremely well for the manufacturing sector. So somehow, in some way, the export performance of goods and services sector is also mirrored in the overall domestic production performance. I mean, you're seeing services do better than the manufacturing. Although I think India is a domestically driven economy, but since the global uncertainty is a big if right now. So I was trying to link it to what's happening globally as well. So I think overall manufacturing will improve, But I would say that the services will still remain the leading engine of growth. Agriculture performance will depend on how not only the monsoons play out, but what kind of heat waves and other weather disturbances we get. So I think fingers crossed on the agriculture for the next year. But manufacturing, we do expect it to do better than what it has done in 24-25.
Lastly, give us a sense that how do you see the government spending number moving up? Because just in the first half of this fiscal year, we have seen a slowdown for, well, of course, the reasons there in terms of the election, budget, etc. But other than that, now what is the outlook? There was a pickup expected in the second half. Are you seeing that thing transpiring?
Yeah, I think government spending should go up in the last quarter, which is, I think, currently playing out. And also, I think the private spending is also should go up. So I think that will be the support for that higher than 7% GDP growth, which is baked into the numbers. I think both government and the private spending will show a bump up in the last quarter.
Joshi, thanks so much for joining us. On that note, we'll let you go. Thanks once again for highlighting your views and where you see the GDP headed going ahead.